I am Andrew White, and thank you for tuning in to U.S. Army Corps of Engineers podcast, Building Careers. The purpose of this podcast is to shed some light on the finer details of the federal hiring process, as well as diving into the different career opportunities within the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Building Careers podcast is made possible by your U.S. service members whose bravery and sacrifice allows you to listen to this and other great podcasts wherever, whenever, and however you want. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on all your favorite platforms to include YouTube, SoundCloud, and Apple Podcasts so you'll be notified when each episode is published. Feel free to send me questions and comments at andrew.e.white@usace.army.mil. Without further ado, here is Building Careers. Alrighty, welcome to another edition of Building Careers. I'm your host, Andrew White, and we're here today with Brian Brandt, one of the area engineers in the Laredo area. Brian, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thanks, Andrew. I'm doing well. Just here talking with you guys. We're going to discuss, what an area office for the Army Corps of Engineers even is, what it entails, the type of work we do, and the type of individuals who we're looking for.
Outstanding. So, Brian, tell us a little bit about yourself first and how long you've been with the Corps.
So I've been with the Corps for 11 years now. I started directly out of school. So I went to the University of Pittsburgh. I got a degree in civil engineering, specialized in structural engineering. So I came right out of school, got a job with the Army Corps of Engineers in Pittsburgh. That district, we work on civil works projects. So it could be locks and dams, levees, large flood control reservoirs, various different structures. And, we have all the disciplines for engineering. I started off under a structural engineer. During that time, a nice part of that program I was in is that we got to do some rotations our first 2 years. So I rotated some different sections, Corps of Engineers. We have operations, project management, program management, regulatory, we have construction, we have engineering, and many others. But, for an engineer like myself, those were pretty much the options. So I got to kind of rotate it through all those. And one of my rotations was with a construction office, an area office in Pittsburgh. We were doing the lock and dam construction project out there. And I got some experience out in the field, and after that, I knew that's where I wanted to be. So I spent the next few years of my career kind of trying to get into construction. And in Pittsburgh particularly, it took me a while to get in there. So I did a few deployments overseas in Afghanistan during that time. Got a lot of great experience working in construction. And I'll go into a little bit more about what exactly that means for the Corps of Engineers to work in a construction field office, an area office, or resident office. But spent a few years doing that. Then finally I got in with Pittsburgh District in the construction office for a few years. My last assignment, I spent 3 years in Germany. So that's nice. One thing that's nice about working for the Corps is that we have offices that cover the entire United States and pretty much anywhere the military goes throughout the world. So if you want to travel, you have a sense of adventure, or you just want to check out different parts of the world, different parts of the country, there's so many opportunities for engineers or even non-engineers, anybody working in this field to take advantage of. I got here to Fort Worth District in Laredo, found out about this opportunity. We're starting a new area office, and I applied for it. I got it, jumped on it, and so here I am now in Laredo and trying to set up this office and find the right people to fill in to make sure that we're successful.
Brian, that sounds awesome. So tell me a little bit about what is an area engineer do in the Laredo area?
Okay, so basically, like I said, we're in construction. But what does that mean for the Corps of Engineers? Are we actually going out and building things? Me personally, no, and the people working for me, no. What we do is the Corps of Engineers takes a design package, so it'd be plans and specifications. Take it from whoever needs it done, whether it comes from an authorization given by a law or another agency that has a need for something to be built, and they'll say, "Hey, Corps of Engineers, we need this done." They'll kind of give us this scope of work, what they're looking for. Our job will be then to design it. Whether we do that in-house, we have an engineering branch, or we do it through architect engineering firm. And once we get that package, that gets awarded through our contracting office. And once it's awarded to a construction contractor, typically through a low bid process, we would then have that contractor to administer the contract. So our job is to go through the contract with the contractor, make sure they're complying with the specifications and the drawings, and clarify any questions they may have. So if they have a request for information, we'll provide those answers. We coordinate back with the engineers, the designer of record, the customers, make sure they're happy. If there's any changes that occur, so if there's any kind of site conditions that change while we're out here, we have to make sure that's coordinated, and we track the changes. We award modifications to the contractor. We'll negotiate with them for those modifications. So our job is to just administer that contract, ensure that the taxpayer is getting what they're paying for. So my level is an area office. So basically what it's going to be is, so for Laredo, here we're doing border infrastructure project. So it's just going to be miles of border wall and any associated attributes. So there's a lot of different players here, from whether it's landowners that we're working with, or different cities, governments, entities. You got to coordinate with those individuals. You got to coordinate with the contractor. They're going to have coordination issues. You got to make sure they're following everything that we've talked about within the contract. So you got to coordinate with those individuals, go back to the engineers, make sure they're satisfied. You got to sit down and have meetings weekly or more, to ensure everybody's on the same page. So there's a lot of contract administration work. You're going to learn about contracting with the government, and using our specific laws and regulations that we follow to ensure that every payment is correct and that we're doing things the right way. Essentially, we hire these contractors to tell us how they're going to perform the work within the specifications we give them, and then our job is to ensure that they are following their processes that they gave us. So we have to keep them up to their word for what they gave us. For what they told us they would do. The area office. So essentially, there's multiple areas. I think Fort Worth District has 8 area offices. I could be wrong. It could be 9. But each area will cover multiple offices within it. So here we have the Laredo area office, and we will have a few resident offices just in Laredo, so they would work directly for me. And then within each resident office, there's multiple individuals working there. So you may have administrative assistants who handle kind of the day-to-day things with making sure employees are getting paid and they're set on everything they need for their accounts, and helping out with our management, our software, and that kind of stuff. We'll have individuals, if you have an engineering degree, you could be a project engineer. Basically, you're going to be handed a project, and it's your job to ensure that you're working daily with the contractor to enforce that compliance of the contract. We have different processes we follow as the Corps of Engineers to make sure that quality and safety are upheld. So safety is number 1, and then quality is number 2. So the Corps of Engineers is known for what we build as being quality. That's something we pride ourselves on, and we have a quality management process that we follow. We make the contractor have quality control representatives, and their 100% job is to just ensure that the quality is to what's in the contract and the specifications. So that is their only job. They're not to direct work. They're supposed to turn down anything that doesn't match the specs or the drawings, and we ensure that they're following those processes. So if you come to work here, you would learn about that. You'd learn about what the processes we follow, how we do things, how we keep the contractor honest, and it's fun day to day. And the nice thing about this job is it's a mix of the field and being in the office. Every day is different. You never know what could come up. Construction's pretty unpredictable. It could be an issue with materials. It could be an issue with equipment. access, logistics, something that didn't work out right. It could just be an issue with somebody in the public who's not happy that you're working near them. It could be anything. So it's really unpredictable. You got to be a flexible person. And if you don't have an engineering degree, we also have construction control representatives who, they're going to spend a little more time in the field and ensuring the compliance in the field, while the project engineers are going to spend a little more time in the office, making sure that all the paperwork is correct and that they're following all their plans, and kind of sitting down and looking at the long range issues and the admin issues, while the con rep is going to be on site every single day, talking with the guys on site and making sure that they're following what they're supposed to in the contract. So there's a good mix there of both types of individuals. Somebody with construction experience, that's invaluable to have out here, especially with contractors working. They're going to understand what actually needs to be done and how to do it. You all work together as a team. So it's a fun atmosphere in construction here. Like I said, it's different every day. You never know what's going to happen every day you walk in. You think, oh, I got one meeting today, and then you end up running all around. But it's awesome. It takes a flexible, dynamic type of personality, and it's a little different than, kind of sitting in a cubicle, which is great too. But personally, I really prefer this field office type of deal where, we're kind of like a big team here. We all work together, and it really brings you together, because you all have one mission, and you get to watch it being built, which is great. You get to sit and see something from beginning to end and watch the whole thing be built, and that you played a big part in it, especially when it comes out and it's high quality construction.
Absolutely. What are some of the other projects that you all are working on right now over there?
So we do have type of projects like drainage projects, road improvement projects. We'll also have some small bridges, culverts, things of that nature. We may have some levee improvements, just different small civil works type of stuff. It's a pretty good mix. It's pretty civil engineer heavy, but we do have mechanical, we have electrical, we have comms. So it's a good mix too for somebody that wants to grow and understand more than just one area. I'm a civil engineer, as I said earlier, but I've in my career, I've gotten to work on every type of discipline there is and know more about electrical, plumbing, fire protection, things like that than I ever thought I would. So it's interesting. Whatever gets thrown at you, you got to take. I've had, we might have a project where we got to put in a generator, run conduit, and maybe put in a transformer. And as a civil engineer, that's probably something you thought you'd never really have to deal with, except maybe put in a pad or something. But you got to learn on the fly and become an expert pretty quick. So it's good. It keeps you versatile, and it keeps you constantly learning and growing. So
obviously you're civil engineer heavy, and other engineering disciplines, certainly have a role in there. You were mentioning about mechanical, electrical. Are there any other type of disciplines that whether it's the engineering world or outside of the engineering world, that would be really beneficial for that area?
Yeah, architects, definitely. That's another one. As a project engineer, an architect would qualify for that position. Typically, it's civil, electrical, mechanical, architect, could be fire protection, or just general interdisciplinary engineer. So if you have any kind of engineering degree, actually, we recently just hired somebody who had a mining engineer degree, but he had experience working in construction and in the field, and it's interesting. It can take you just about anywhere. It's kind of like one of those things where if you might start off your career, like I said, I started off in structural, which is mostly concrete and steel design, and inspection and that kind of stuff. But then once I got into construction, I just really enjoy the processes, and I also enjoy, you have to be pretty creative with how you deal with things. You got a lot of different tools you have to use, how to incentivize a contractor to do the right thing. You got to hold them accountable, but at the end of the day, your job is to get the job done, making sure that they're moving forward. So But that's really what I enjoy, is like the process of, okay, we have a problem out here. This, whatever we're doing isn't working. How do we communicate better? How do we get on the same page? How do we partner together here to get this project back on track? So every day it's a little bit of, creativity and understanding of, okay, well, maybe this didn't work, or you could do it this way, but it's not going to be beneficial. So we have to think of what can we do best that's going to benefit everyone and make us all successful. So it's a fun little process each day, figuring out how do we keep moving forward and do the right thing at the same time.
Gotcha. Question for you. What advice would you have for those seeking a civil engineering work opportunity with the Corps?
So my advice would be, I think one thing that we have an advantage here in Laredo is, like I said, we're going to be starting up a brand new office. So, we're going to be willing to take on some people where I've been in other places where, we put out a job or a job announcement, and we might get 30 or 40 applicants, and more than half of those are qualified with experience and with the government. And so, say you don't have any government experience, like I said earlier, we have a lot of processes and ways that we do things that if you've never done it, you wouldn't know it. So if you don't have the government experience, especially with the Corps of Engineers, that's going to put you behind right off the bat. But being here in Laredo, it's a smaller city. It's South Texas. So it's one of those places where we're going to have a lot going on. It's going to be a fast-paced program. You're going to see and do things here that you probably won't get to see most places. So it's a great opportunity for anybody who doesn't have that particular background in government contract admin or government work, especially with the Corps of Engineers. This is a great place to get, that proverbial foot in the door, and you're going to get experience here that, 2 years here is going to be like 10 years anywhere else. So it's going to be great, a great foot in the door and a great resume builder. And here, we empower people. So we're going to allow people to be able to understand how to think. That's kind of what that's the environment that I and my team are trying to create, where we want people to be able to think and understand the processes and be self-sufficient and not just rely on us to make all the decisions for them and tell them what to do. I'm going to empower people to come down here, learn the processes, understand how to do it, think through it. Of course, we're going to help and we're going to support and always be there. But, I really want to build people up and for the future. I was fortunate enough as a young engineer to have really good mentors that helped me to grow. They never let me take the easy way out. They never said, yeah, that's good enough. They always held me to the highest standard and taught me to think and taught me to critically think and be able to, come up with ways to find solutions. And that really helped me to grow. And so I want to give that back and help build the next generation of, engineers with the Corps, and have good teammates, so they go out and they do great things, whether they stay in Laredo, because this office is going to be here for a long time, or anywhere else. But, we want good employees with the Army Corps of Engineers. So I want to bring in people who want to work, want to learn, and want to grow.
No, I love that. I love the fact you talked about finding good mentors. That is one of my personal leadership traits that I always put out there is find a mentor, be a mentor. And I love what you're saying about that. Is there anything else that you would want to tell our listeners about, the Corps and what you guys do over there in the Laredo area?
I think overall I've covered most of it. So it's a very diverse job. You're not going to be a specialist in one area. You're going to be a jack of all trades.
Love it. Got one more question for you in regards to, as you know, the Corps, we're very much vested into our pathways programs and our young students, sophomore, junior years coming up. If you were to tell that junior Brian Brandt back in University of Pittsburgh, your sophomore, junior year, what would be some of the, whether it's an internship / class load type of things that you'd recommend? Hey, you want an opportunity, make sure you get these type of things under your belt before you walk across that stage and get your degree.
Well, the one good thing about being an engineering curriculum, if that's where an individual is in now, it's ABET accredited, so you're going to get all the base classes. If there's one thing I could change personally, is that I did structures back then and I did enjoy it. I did bridge inspection all throughout college, and that was a lot of fun. I was in the field all the time, getting dirty, muddy, wet, everything. I really enjoyed that. That's where I kind of fell in love with being out in the field. So I did all the structures curriculum, but it was more based in design, analysis, things like that, which I did enjoy. But then once I got into my career, I realized that construction is where I wanted to be. So me personally, I would have probably taken the construction path where they have construction management courses, higher level construction management courses and things like that, where it's more about managing all of your equipment and managing your labor and your resources and the schedule and all that kind of stuff that I had to kind of just all learn on the job. Luckily here though, I did have the opportunity. Most of what I use now is on the job training, but I wish I kind of would have focus more on that in college, but you never know where you're going to end up and go. So
great point.
In my mind, if somebody's in an engineering curriculum, if they want to work for the Corps, any discipline you can get to that discipline with the Corps and work as an engineer, or you can go into project management, go into construction, different routes. So if you're getting an engineering degree, you're already on the right path to. We're the Corps of Engineers, so there'll be a spot for you somewhere.
Outstanding. Well, Brian, that sounds pretty great. Love the enthusiasm. Love what we're hearing out there, and all the great work that you and all the other different folks over in Laredo are doing. You're certainly doing a great job for the country, and certainly for the area, between the bridges and the different waterways and road projects and civil projects. You guys have a pretty robust projects and opportunities out there, for both the area and for those looking to get their feet wet in the Corps. And I think that is outstanding what you guys are doing. Do you have any final thoughts that our listeners should know?
I just want to say thanks for this opportunity. I think this is a really cool way to get the word out there. Like I said before, you look at these job announcements and they're sometimes difficult to tell what they're even looking for, and I think this is a great way to kind of give people a chance to hear what we're really doing. The job that we particularly do, especially in construction, it's very unique to the government, and especially the Corps of Engineers. And, it's one of those things where some people, it's going to be exactly what they're looking for. And, once it gets described to them, their ears perk up because that sounds great. I want to be where the action is, and every day I want to, see something different, do something different, have the chance to go out in the field and learn firsthand what's going on. If you can design concrete on paper, but until you see how a concrete placement goes from batch plant, to testing and all that, and the cylinder breaks, you learn so much seeing it be done every day. So it's a really cool opportunity, and I love it. Clearly, I think it comes through. I'm always
Very
told
much.
that. I don't know, but I could talk about this stuff all day and really get into the weeds and the details. But I'll leave it as general as I can for this forum. But I'm just looking for and I think in general, but especially myself and our office, we just want enthusiastic individuals who are willing to learn and grow and have an understanding of construction and engineering in general. But a lot of this is on the job training. So if you do have prior experience, that's great, and that helps, and it's definitely going to be a leg up for you. But learning how we do business here, that's just going to happen on the job. And so as long as you're willing to come in with an open mind, learn every day and grow, and jump in there and just put yourself out there and take things on, then you learn really quickly and grow really fast. So that'd be great to, through this forum, like I said, find a few people. Podcasts are great. I think they're one of the most popular forms of medium today. So, people are taking advantage of it, and it's really cool to see that we're taking advantage of it as well.
Excellent. Well, Brian, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of certainly a very busy workload for sure. That would be an understatement. All the great things you guys are doing over there, and kind of talk a little bit about what you do and what the great Laredo office does. For our listeners, don't forget to listen to this podcast and subscribe to us on podcasts on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Thanks so much for listening to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Fort Worth District, Building Careers, and we'll see you next time.